she discovered an incredible secret at work. What happened next changed their lives forever. Sarah buried her heart in her work, but that day at the clinic felt different. As she rummaged through a disheveled file cabinet, her fingers brushed against a neglected manila folder. Curiosity sparked and she pulled it out. It was Tom Hughes's file. Local war hero, veteran, a man whose sacrifices served Maplewood. But as she flipped through the pages, her admiration turned into disbelief. Tom had been wrongfully denied benefits that could keep his family from losing their home. A rage ignited in her chest. This was not just a story, this was injustice, and it demanded to be rectified. She couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a duty, but a calling. As she envisioned Tom's family, his beautiful wife and child struggling, shoulders hunched as the bills piled up, her heart tightened. What kind of community allowed a hero to suffer like this? The whispers of her colleagues were murky, warning her of wrath from the higher-ups, but she pressed forward. Who would stand for Tom if not her? Then came a familiar voice, Derek, her polished corporate lawyer brother. "You want to take on the system?" He scoffed over coffee at her kitchen table, their conversations now often ending in tension rather than laughter. "These things are complicated. Money is involved, Sarah." He tried to peel back her resolve, masking concern with practicality. To Derek, morals were a luxury, valuable only when they didn't interfere with profits. Their family loyalty felt tethered to a past Sarah was still fighting to escape. Yet when she went home, Jake and Emma reminded her of the simple joys, the laughter at dinner, stories shared under blankets. It fueled her spirit, solidifying her belief that no one should endure the troubles Thomas faced alone. She took a breath and summoned courage. She would not be quiet. Maplewood needed to rise for Tom. "Maplewood stands for Tom," she declared. In the local community center, excitement buzzed in the air. Neighbors came together, pots brimming with meatballs and desserts in bright tins, smiles mingling with hope. This was more than a fundraiser. It became a celebration of resilience. But then, darkness loomed as the clinic's notice came in, threatening to shut down everything she'd worked for. In an instant, hope teetered on the edge. Heart racing, thoughts crashed into each other. Was the battle worth it if it meant losing everything? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when Sarah felt like crumbling under the weight of it all, an old newspaper clipping revealed that Derek had more in common with Tom's family than she ever knew. Her breath hitched. Could it be that their childhood ties were stronger than the barriers they had built? The abyss of silence between them imploded, threatening to bridge an unspoken connection. With the stakes rising, she stood at the heart of Maplewood, her community, with everything hanging in the balance. Would her fight for what was right unite everyone, or would the strains of family loyalty shatter what little hope remained? As her heart beat steadily, she braced for whatever lay ahead. The following week felt like an eternity. The fundraiser had ignited a spark of solidarity in Maplewood, but it also unearthed unresolved tensions between Sarah and Derek. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from another flood of emails intended for the clinic. It was Derek, wanting to meet. "Can we talk?" his message read, simple but loaded with meaning. She hesitated. Every part of her screamed to ignore him, to keep fighting for Tom and the community on her own terms. Yet something about the urgency in his tone drew her in. They met at their childhood diner, the clinking of dishes and the smell of fresh coffee cocooning them in a familiar warmth. Derek was already seated, looking out the window with a furrowed brow. When he saw her, the tension shifted into something raw. "Thanks for coming," he said, his voice heavier than she remembered. "I've been thinking," he trailed off, poking at the table with his knife, "about Tom. Not just Tom, about all of it. We grew up here. This is our community too," she replied, determination lining her words. "And it's not just about the money, it's about holding the system accountable for what it takes from people." He looked at her, truly looking. "How do we fix this, Sarah? I can help, but it's going to be messy." "Messy is the only option," she said, feeling her chest expand with a surge of hope. "If we don't stand up, who will? These heroes deserve everything we can give them, and more." Conversation flowed, their shared memories bridging the gap. They spoke of their parents, the lessons learned in this town, and the values they carried, values that felt swallowed by ambition and ambition's darker side. Back at the clinic, the weight of the impending closure hovered over her like a storm cloud. Sarah threw herself into organizing the fundraiser even harder, pouring her heart into every detail. She enlisted the help of neighbors she didn't know well, but each face that joined her felt like a victory, a small rebellion against indifference. As they prepared for the event, laughter burst through the air, mixed with bites of encouragement. Each volunteer possessed a quiet bravery, a flickering flame of hope and determination that mirrored her own. But self-doubt crept in. What if it wasn't enough? What if everything they'd built would crumble under the weight of corporate greed? Then, at the edges of her thoughts, a persistent memory nagged at her about that newspaper clipping, a seed of doubt. It hinted at deeper connections, shadows lurking beneath the surface. That night, she stayed up, combing through records at her kitchen table. Clicking keys and the soft hum of the printer accompanied her. Soon, pages of documents filled the table, names aligned, signatures stamped on forms. Tom's situation felt more complicated than she imagined. The more she dug, the more tangled the web became. As dawn peered through the curtains, a harsh truth formed, a pattern of neglect that was pervasive not only in government systems, but within her own family ties. She pulled back, heart racing. If she confronted Derek with this, would it undo their fragile reconciliation? Or could it be the key to unraveling everything that had been hidden? "Sarah," her son Jake's voice broke in as he shuffled into the kitchen, his messy hair tousled and eyes blinking in the morning light. "Are you okay?" She looked at him, feeling the weight of her choices settle in. "Yeah, buddy, just working on something important." But as they shared breakfast together, a lump formed in her throat. What if defending Tom's honor meant tearing down her own family's facade? The clock ticked louder now. The fundraiser loomed right ahead, but so did a truth that could change everything. Would she have the courage to confront the revelations she'd unearthed? With a trembling breath, Sarah realized it was all connected. The community, her family, Tom. In fighting for one, could she save them all? But was she prepared to face the consequences of what that could mean? As the sun rose higher, shedding light on the path before her, she knew it was time to prepare for the storm to come. What would happen when the truth finally emerged? Only time would tell. The night before the fundraiser was a whirlwind of activity. Sarah stood in front of her cluttered kitchen table, the soft glow of a single bulb illuminating the stacks of papers and flyers that surrounded her. The tension in the room was palpable as she chewed on her lip, weighing the consequences of what she had uncovered. Just then, Jake peeked back in, his intuition sensing her turmoil. "Mom, you sure you're okay? You've been acting really strange lately." "Everything is going to be fine, sweetie," she reassured him, plastering a smile on her face. Yet inside, a storm raged. Could she go through with the fundraiser knowing what she knew? Her heart sunk at the thought. Tomorrow, the community would rally in support of Tom, and yet the truths lurking in those documents turned her stomach. If she revealed the negligence that affected so many, how would her family react? How would Derek, her tentative ally, respond to the dark shadows of their past? As the clock struck midnight, Sarah finally surrendered to exhaustion. Tomorrow awaited her, a day that felt heavier than it should. She fell into bed, hoping for a dream that might guide her, but sleep escaped her. Daylight broke with an unwelcome urgency. She pushed herself out of bed, forcing her mind back to the task at hand. The school gym had never looked more vibrant. Red and blue decorations draping across the walls, volunteers buzzing around as they prepared for the upcoming event. Laughter and chatter danced in the air, but their joy felt like a distant echo to her. Derek arrived just as they were setting up tables. He flashed her a confident smile, but she could see a flicker of concern hiding behind it. "You okay?" he asked. "I will be," she replied, but the knot in her stomach twisted tighter. As the event kicked off, the energy in the room surged. The community filled the space, families gathering, standing together for a cause that resonated deeply in their hearts. A local band began to play, and the vibrations of the music mixed with hopeful chatter. "Sarah, get up here!" a voice called from the crowd. It was Mary, one of the volunteers. "We need you for the raffle." Sarah took a breath, her heart pounding. She grabbed the microphone. The warm faces of neighbors looked back at her, their hopeful eyes urging her to share the struggles they were fighting against. "Thank you, everyone, for being here today," she started, but the words clung to her throat. As she gazed at the faces in front of her, she felt strength spiraling through her body. "We're not just fundraising today. We're standing for Tom, but we're also standing for every family in Maplewood that has been brushed aside by the systems meant to protect us. Together, we have the power to change that." Applause erupted, drowning out her worries. Just as she was about to continue, her phone buzzed, a text from her father. The words zeroed in on her like a spotlight in a dark room. "We need to talk now." The laughter and merriment around her faded, replaced by a chilling sense of urgency. She hesitated, torn between the significance of believing in this moment and the looming conversation that could turn everything upside down. "Sarah?" Derek's voice broke into her thoughts, his eyes narrowed with concern. "What's wrong?" I need to take this," she replied, her voice distant. As she slipped out of the gym, she felt the eyes of her community still trained on her, the weight of their expectations heavy on her shoulders. Outside, she read the message again, her heart racing anew. What awaited her back home would determine not only her path, but the future of this very community she was so fiercely trying to protect. As she dialed her father's number and watched the crowd celebrate inside, she gripped the phone like it was a lifeline. What could he possibly say that would change everything once again? Would that conversation shatter the hope she had built or bind it tighter? Only time would reveal the answer, but one thing was clear. Sarah was ready to face whatever storm was brewing on the horizon. The real battle was just beginning. The buzzing of the phone felt deafening in the quiet hallway. Sarah's pulse quickened as she pressed the phone to her ear, the familiar weight of anxiety creeping in. She barely heard the first 2 rings before her father picked up. "Sarah?" His voice was low, tinged with the urgency she'd come to dread. "Dad?" she replied, trying to keep her tone steady. "What's going on?" "We need to talk about something serious," he said, and a chill ran down her spine. "Can you come home?" The gym behind her muffled, the laughter now a dull roar. "Can't it wait? I'm in the middle of something important." "No, it can't," he insisted, his voice sharper than usual. "I wouldn't ask if it wasn't. It's about the fundraiser." Her heart plummeted. "What do you mean?" "I'll explain when you get here. It's about Tom." There was a pause, and she could almost hear him swallowing hard. "It's about what happened to him, and more." The weight of his words sank into her like a stone. Tom wasn't just a name. He was a brother, a neighbor, someone whose laughter still echoed in this close-knit community. The fundraiser was supposed to help him, but now the truth unraveling felt like a thread slipping from her grasp. "Okay, I'll be right there," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She hung up, fighting back the swirling emotions. What had her father found? What could possibly connect the fundraiser to deeper, darker truths? As she stepped back into the gym, the atmosphere seemed to spin around her. Derek caught her eye and approached. "Sarah, everything okay?" he asked. "Not really. I have to go." She fought to keep her voice from betraying her. "What's wrong?" "It's about the fundraiser, about Tom." The uncertainty gnawed at her, but she couldn't divulge everything now, especially with the event still unfolding in a joyful chaos. "Just make sure you come back," Derek urged, uncertainty clouding his expression. She nodded, forcing a smile as she retreated, each step away from the gym heavy with the weight of expectation. The drive home felt infinite. Every red light stretched into eternity, and the chatter in her mind battled between dread and determination. What truths lay buried? Upon arrival, her father's door stood ajar. Sarah pushed it open and stepped into their home. The walls felt closer somehow, and a chill lingered in the living room, as if secrets were pressing against them. Her father sat at the table, hands clasped tight, his gray eyes searching hers. "Sit down," he said. "What's going on?" she asked, taking her seat. "It's about the documents you found. You must understand my involvement back then." "Your involvement?" she interrupted, the confusion rising. "What do you mean?" "It was years ago," he sighed heavily, as if the weight of memory crushed him.
"I thought it was all buried, but the negligence, it connects back to the funding issues we're seeing today, to Tom's case." The truth cascaded over her, cold and brutal. "Are you saying the problems Tom is facing are part of what happened before?" Her father hesitated. "Yes, and I'm scared, Sarah. The repercussions could destroy everything we've worked for." Panic surged within her. "Then we can't let that happen. Tom deserves better than this. Revealing too much can blow the whole thing wide open. We risk losing everything, including your brother's safety." "What do you mean?" she shot back, fear threading her voice. "What did you do?" He looked away, his silence more telling than words could convey. The chasm between them felt insurmountable, haunted by a past she was just beginning to uncover. "What do we do now?" she whispered. As they sat in the thick tension, a siren wailed outside, echoing through the silence. Sarah's chest tightened. The stakes had never felt higher. She realized this was not just about Tom anymore. It was about their entire community, about truth, justice, and the echoes of the past that refused to stay silent. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Derek. "Get back here now. Something's happening." The urgency in his words brought another wave of dread. What could possibly be happening that required her urgent return? Derek's message weighed heavily on her, each buzz of her phone sending her heart racing. The gym that had felt like a sanctuary mere hours ago now loomed before her, a place filled with uncertainty and fear. She rushed into the building, the sounds of laughter and chatter hitting her like a wave, but they felt distant, muted. Her focus sharpened, and she scanned the crowd for Derek. He stood near the stage, his brow furrowed, gesturing for her to come over quickly. "Sarah!" he called, a note of urgency in his voice. With every step, the knot in her stomach tightened. "What's going on?" she asked, breathless as she reached him. Derek glanced around, ensuring no one was too close. "They found something about the funds. I thought I could keep it buried. Now people are asking questions." "What do you mean?" Her head spun. "What did you find?" He hesitated before replying. "The money. It's not all going to Tom's treatment. There's a discrepancy in the accounts. It's a lot of missing funds." The implications hit her like a jolt of electricity. "So someone's been stealing? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I wasn't sure if it was really happening, or if it was just my paranoia at this point. But now it's out there." He glanced nervously toward the side of the gym, where a small group of people had gathered, their voices rising in agitation. Sarah's heart sank. "What do you mean it's out there?" Before he could answer, a voice rang out from the crowd. "We need answers! This is supposed to be for Tom's recovery, and we're not seeing the numbers add up!" Her stomach dropped, the reality of the situation crashing around her. This wasn't just about Tom's health anymore. It was about the very foundation of trust within their community. The fundraiser, designed to bring everyone together, now felt like a facade. Derek's face darkened. I tried to control it, be discreet, but now people are starting to connect the dots. "What's the plan?" she asked, her voice thick with urgency. "We gather everyone who's involved and get to the bottom of this. We can't let panic spread further, especially not now," he said, determination igniting his eyes. She nodded, steel creeping into her spine. "You're right. We have to do this now and do it together." As they stepped onto the makeshift stage to address the crowd, she felt her heart pounding. Each face looked up at her expectantly, a mix of confusion and anger brewing. The tension was palpable. Derek spoke first, his voice steady. "Folks, we've had some concerning news about the fundraising efforts. I know you're all here to support Tom, and this means everything to us." "Are you covering up a scandal?" someone shouted from the back. "Wait, please, let us explain." Sarah stepped forward, her hands raised. "We're not hiding anything. We're here to find the truth. This is about Tom, and we won't let anything overshadow his fight. Let us do our jobs." The crowd murmured, uncertainty dancing in their eyes. It was a fragile moment, poised on the edge of revelation. Derek took a deep breath and added, "We need your help to make sure everyone gets the care they deserve, including transparency. We need to work together and uphold the hope we promised to Tom." But just as he finished speaking, another figure emerged from the back, someone Sarah recognized immediately. It was Mr. Bennett, the chair of the fundraising committee. His face held a mix of fury and fear. "You youngsters have no idea what you're playing at. You're going to ruin everything." Sarah felt fire in her veins. "You're right. We won't let it be ruined. We will find the truth, even if it means exposing someone we thought we could trust." She didn't know how they would get to the bottom of the mystery, but one thing was clear. The fight for Tom had turned into a bigger battle. As Mr. Bennett's eyes narrowed, she could sense the storm about to break. What secrets were hidden beneath the surface? The weight of the moment settled in her stomach, heavy with uncertainty. As whispers bounced off the walls like a volley, she'd have to prepare herself for whatever fallout was coming next. Because now, not just Tom's future was at stake, but the credibility of a community that had taken its first steps down a dangerous path. Derek shifted slightly, his gaze locked on Mr. Bennett, who stood with arms crossed and a fierce scowl. The air around them thickened with unspoken accusations, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. Sarah's throat felt tight. Everyone was waiting for a sign, an assurance that this wasn't the end of what they had built together, the hope they had nurtured for Tom. "Look," Derek began, attempting to soften the rising tension. "We all want the same thing here. We want Tom to get better. And to do that, we need transparency. If there's been a mistake, we have to fix it. We owe that to him." "Transparency?" Mr. Bennett scoffed, the disdain dripping from his voice. "You naive kids think you can just come in here and air dirty laundry? You are going to destroy everything." "Not if we handle it right," Sarah interjected, stepping closer to the edge of the stage. She could feel the heat of the crowd's collective gaze. Sarah's throat felt tight. Everyone was waiting for a sign, an assurance that this wasn't the end of what they had built together, the hope they had nurtured for Tom. "What if the truth scares us? What if it's not what we want to hear? But we owe it to Tom. He deserves our best fight." The murmurs grew louder. Some nodded in agreement, others shifted uncomfortably. The tightrope of trust was precarious, and Sarah could feel the weight of it pressing down. Suddenly, a voice rang out from the back, cutting through the noise. "What if it's not just funds? What if someone's been doing this all along and we didn't even notice?" The mention of betrayal sent a jolt through the crowd. Sarah felt her breath quicken. Was there more to uncover? Panic began to weave itself through the fabric of the gathering, and she saw uncertainty etched on the faces she knew so well. "Who would do that?" someone else asked, fear spilling across their features. The enormity of the situation threatened to swallow her whole. "We can't jump to conclusions. We need evidence," Derek urged. but the disquiet in the room suggested something far deeper than numbers was at play. "Evidence!" Mr. Bennet's voice rose, but it was nearly drowned out by rising whispers, accusations bubbling to the surface like disturbed water. "You're all acting like there's some grand conspiracy. You're looking for trouble where there shouldn't be any." "Or maybe someone's been looking out for themselves," Sarah shot back, her voice trembling but firm. The truth felt like a sword resting in her hand, and she couldn't falter now. "Tom needs us, united in this fight. Let's stop squabbling and start digging. We need to get to the bottom of this, for him." As the crowd sparked with new energy, Sarah could see the lines of loyalty drawn clearer. Friends and neighbors exchanged glances, their unity shifting, fraying at the seams under the pressure of doubt. Was Mr. Bennet involved? What role had he played in this spiral? Derek stepped forward, rallying the remaining supporters.
We cannot let our trust in one another slip away. We have to question everything. We owe it to Tom and to ourselves to fight for what's right. Sarah locked eyes with Derek, willing her resolve to match his. They weren't just fighting for Tom anymore. They were fighting for a community, an ideal built on love and honesty. They had to dig deeper, no matter the cost. But as they began to strategize, Sarah's phone vibrated sharply against her palm, snapping her focus back to the moment. She glanced down, her heart sinking at the unknown number flashing angrily on the screen. Could it be a lead? An ally? Maybe even a warning? "I need to take this," she murmured to Derek, a sense of dread mixed with urgency filling her chest. "Be careful," he said, concern etching his features. The crowd was restless, conversations ricocheting around her like fireworks, each popping sound tightening the knot in her stomach as she stepped away. She raised the phone to her ear, dread pooling within her. "Hello?" A voice crackled through the line, low and uncertain. "Sarah? You need to listen carefully. There's something you don't know about Mr. Bennet." A chill raced down her spine, unraveling the tension of the moment. What secret was hidden in those words? What revelation would pull back the curtain on the chaos they faced? Every fiber of her being urged her to press on. The truth was within reach, and now was not the time to back down. As she listened closely, it became evident that the battle was only just beginning. "Who is this?" Sarah demanded, her heart thumping like a war drum in her chest. She glanced back at Derek, who was still deep in conversation with a few others. They were completely unaware of the storm brewing on the other end of the line. "Someone who knows what's really happening. About Tom, about Mr. Bennet," the voice said slowly. There was a hesitation, as if the caller was weighing the risks of revealing too much too soon. "You have to trust me, Sarah. The truth is dangerous, but it's the only way to save him." "Save him?" Sarah whispered, icy fear gripping her throat. "What do you mean?" "Mr. Bennet isn't just the person you think he is. There are funds missing, more than just a few mistakes in paperwork. There's a cover-up, and it involves a lot of people in your community. You need to dig into the records, the donations to the center." Her mind raced, piecing together the caller's cryptic words. Did Mr. Bennet hold the key to Tom's future, or was he the one burying their hope? What role were the community members playing in this web of deceit? "The donations," Sarah echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What do you know?" "I can't say over the phone. Just trust me. Start at the community meeting minutes. Look for discrepancies. There's a reason Tom's treatment isn't being prioritized." Before she could respond, the line went dead, leaving Sarah clutching her phone tightly. The world around her blurred as she tried to process the information. Questions spiraled in her mind, each more concerning than the last. She needed to talk to Derek and the others, but panic poured through her like ice water. With a deep breath, she surged back into the crowd. They noticed her sudden arrival, eyes fixed in expectation. "What's wrong?" Derek asked, his brow furrowing with concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Something's off with Mr. Bennet," Sarah stammered, her voice thick with urgency.
He's involved in something big. We need to investigate the donations to the center. There could be a cover-up that's putting Tom's life at risk." A wave of whispers spread through the group, the tension mounting once more. Faces filled with disbelief at first, then understanding crept in. They couldn't ignore this. Tom's life might really depend on their next steps. Derek nodded, determination glazing his gaze. "If that's true, we need to act fast. We can't just let it go. What do you need us to do?" "I need everyone to split up," Sarah said, rallying her voice. "We have to comb through records, speak to anyone willing to talk. We need proof of what's been going on." "Are you sure we're prepared for this?" One neighbor hesitated, anxiety lining their features. "Nobody's ever prepared for the truth," Sarah replied fiercely, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "But what's the alternative? Letting the people we love suffer? We can't let fear hold us back. We owe it to Tom." The group exchanged determined glances, resolve washing over them like a tide once more. They nodded one by one, uniting under a collective purpose once more. As they dispersed to take action, Sarah couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that they were not just uncovering the truth about Mr. Bennet. This situation was bigger than they had imagined. Secrets crisscrossed like electric wires, and one small spark could ignite an entire blaze. As she turned to follow Derek into another room, Sarah's phone buzzed again. She hesitated, taking a deep breath, expecting more fear. But when she glanced down, it wasn't another daunting call. Instead, it was a text. The message read, "Meet me at the old mill if you want answers. They're watching. Don't trust anyone." Her stomach twisted, a swirl of dread and curiosity locking her in place. Who was sending this message? Was it a warning or an invitation? As uncertainty clouded her thoughts, she realized she had to decide. Should she chase this new lead and risk everything, or stay with the group and focus on their mission? The choice loomed large, her heart pounding fiercely as she faced an unexpected crossroads. What awaited her at the mill? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as the weight of the decision settled over her like a thick fog. The group was already scattering, each member rallying to affirm their commitment to finding the truth. But the urgency of the text gnawed at her, pulling her in a different direction. She glanced at Derek, who was poring over a stack of papers, determination etched on his face. "Sarah?" His voice broke through her reverie, concern creeping in. "Are you coming?" She looked between him and the unopened message on her phone, her mind a whirlpool of doubt and fear. If she went to the mill, she might uncover something crucial, but alone she wouldn't have the support of her friends. Yet the idea of staying behind made her chest tighten. "I'll catch up with you," Sarah blurted, her heart thumping loud enough to drown out reason. "I just need a second." Without waiting for a reply, she started weaving her way through the crowd, all the while feeling Derek's eyes on her. Each step toward the exit felt heavier. She knew what she was doing could put her at risk, but what if this was the lead that could change everything? What if the caller was right? As she stepped outside, the air was crisp and charged, the sky painted in hues of amber. Uncertainty lingered around her like a shadow. She hugged herself, pushing herself forward. The old mill loomed in the distance, its silhouette dark against the setting sun. When she arrived, the world around her dimmed to a hush. The wooden door creaked open, revealing the dusty interior, filled with the scent of aged wood and forgotten memories. She peered inside, half expecting to see someone waiting for her, but the space was empty. A knot of fear twisted in her stomach. "Hello?" she called out, her voice echoing off the walls. Silence responded, heavy and oppressive. Just as she started to doubt her decision, the shadow of a figure emerged from the darkness. It was a woman, her features hidden beneath a hood. Sarah's heart raced, her instinct screamed danger. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows the truth about Mr. Bennet," the woman said, stepping closer. Her voice had a low, gravelly edge. "But it's not as simple as it seems, Sarah." "Tell me what you know," Sarah urged, fighting back both fear and curiosity. I've been watching everything unfold. There are forces at play far more powerful than you realize. Is it about the donations? About Tom? The woman hesitated, her eyes glistening in the fading light, a worn glimmer of empathy. It's about lives, those who matter most to you, and those who would stop at nothing to protect their secrets. A chill ran through Sarah. What do you mean? Why should I trust you? Because those you consider allies could very well be your enemies. The truth will change everything, and you need to know it before it's too late. The woman leaned forward, her hood slipping to reveal a familiar face, one from the community Sarah admired and respected. Confusion mixed with disbelief as Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Could this woman really hold the key to everything they feared? Just as she reached for answers, footsteps echoed behind her. Bursting through the door, Derek and the others appeared, faces filled with worry. Sarah's heart sank. She had sent them away, but they hadn't gone far. "Sarah!" Derek shouted. "We were worried. What's going on?" The woman stiffened at the sight of the group, her eyes flickering between them with unspoken fear and recognition. "You shouldn't have come here," she warned sharply. Sarah felt her pulse quicken, mounting urgency pushing her decision to a breaking point. "No, wait," she called, glancing back at the woman. "What do I do?" The tension hung thick, the room brewing with unanswered questions. Would they uncover the truth, or had they stepped into a trap? Finally, the woman's voice dropped to a mere whisper filled with a grim urgency. "You need to act before they destroy everything you hold dear." The weight of her words hung in the air as they all exchanged glances, their choices stretching out like a fork in a road. What secrets had they stumbled into? And was the truth more dangerous than they could ever anticipate? What would they decide to do next? Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she faced the tension brewing in the room. Derek's eyes darted between her and the mysterious woman. The rest of the group formed a tight knot behind him, their expressions a mix of confusion and concern. "Who is this?" Derek demanded, stepping protectively in front of Sarah. "She's someone who knows things, Derek," Sarah quickly replied, the panic in her voice narrowing her focus. "Things about Mr. Bennett and the donations." The woman took a breath, the weight of her words hanging between them. "I can help, but you need to listen. There are forces in this town that will go to extreme lengths to keep the truth hidden." Her eyes bored into Sarah's, desperate and urgent. "Tell us," Derek pressed, his tone harsh but edged with fear. "What do you know?" The woman hesitated, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting someone to appear from the shadows. "It's more than just the donations," she whispered, urgency laced through her voice. "There's a network of lies, people who think they can control the narrative. They've hurt others before, and they will do it again." Sarah exchanged a worried glance with her friends. "You mean there are others who have been harmed?" "Yes," the woman replied, taking a step closer. "But if you're going to fight back, then you need to be ready for what's coming. The people backing Mr. Bennett are powerful. They'll stop at nothing to protect their secrets." A chill ran through Sarah. "Like threats? Or worse?" "Worse," she confirmed, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There were accidents, people who question too much. They won't hesitate to silence you." For a moment the room was swallowed in silence, the air thick with dread. Derek's hand instinctively reached for Sarah's, their palms meeting in a spark of reassurance. Yet Sarah felt a flicker of doubt. Was she truly ready for this? "Why now?" Derek asked, breaking the silence. "Why tell us now?" "The truth has a way of surfacing when you least expect it," the woman said, her brow furrowed as though she could sense the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. "But time is running out. They think they have everything under control, but you do have a chance to change things." Derek moved closer, his voice low and firm. "What do we have to do?" "You must dig deeper," she urged, her eyes flashing with urgency. "Follow the money. Question everything you thought you knew about your allies. And if you find something that connects Mr. Bennett, make it public. Draw the light to it." "Make it public," Sarah echoed, a rush of uncertainty filling her. She glanced at her friends, each of them wearing expressions of determination laced with fear. "Yes," the woman reiterated, determination threading through her words. "The truth can't hide from the light, but you must be ready, ready for the backlash when it comes." Just then, a distant noise echoed from behind them, jolting everyone's focus. The unsettling feeling of being watched crept into Sarah's bones. All their eyes turned to the entrance, a chill spreading through the room. "Someone's coming," Derek warned, drawing Sarah and their friends closer together. "Go," the woman urged, fear igniting her voice. "You need to leave now. Trust no one and stay quiet." As they backed away toward the door, Sarah turned to the woman one last time, desperation clawing at her. "What's your name?" "Just remember," she said, holding Sarah's gaze with intensity. "Not everyone who smiles is friendly. Be careful." Heart racing, Sarah fled the mill alongside Derek and their friends. Outside, the shrill wind matched her anxiety, howling with uncertainty as they sprinted across the yard. Once they reached safety, Derek turned to Sarah, his voice urgent. "What do we do now?" Fear and resolve wove through her thoughts. They'd stumbled into something they couldn't fully grasp, yet she felt a fire igniting within her. "We find the truth, no matter the cost," she said, watching Derek nod his agreement, their bond tightening against the looming danger. But as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Sarah wondered, had they just uncovered the tip of a much larger iceberg? What lay beneath the surface? Would they find allies or enemies lurking in their pursuit for the truth? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows as Sarah, Derek, and their friends huddled together, the air ripe with tension and uncertainty. They stood in a quiet alley behind the gym, their hearts racing, minds swirling with the implications of what they'd just learned. "Where do we even start?" one of their friends asked, nervously biting their nails. "Let's go back to the community center," Derek said, determination flickering in his eyes. "We need to check the records and gather evidence. If there's foul play, we can't sit idle." "Right," Sarah agreed, her own resolve building.
"We'll need to be smart about this. They're watching us now." They made their way cautiously back inside, moving through dimly lit hallways and skirting groups of people still celebrating the fundraiser. Each cheer felt like a reminder of the stakes. They were doing this for Tom, for their community, but also because they were ready to unmask the hidden truths. They gathered in a small meeting room, flipping through folders and old meeting minutes. Derek leaned over a particularly thick binder, his brow furrowing deeper with each page. "Look at this. There are inconsistencies in the donation records from the past few months. They don't add up." Sarah took a deep breath, heart pounding as she felt the familiar pinch of worry in her gut. "What are we looking at?" "Thousands unaccounted for," Derek said, his voice low, "and they're crucial funds that were supposed to go toward community health initiatives, not just Tom's case. If we expose this, it could collapse the fundraiser, right? And whatever support Mr. Bennett has," Sarah concluded, the weight of the implications pressing heavily on her. "But it could also return the money to where it belongs," Derek reminded her, determination shadowing his features. "We're outnumbered and underprepared, but if we can time this right, act before they can shut us down." The sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway, 3 sets heavy with purposeful intent. Every muscle in Sarah's body tensed. "We've got company!" "Quick!" Derek urged, shoving the papers hastily into bags. "We need to leave, now!" Heart racing, they slipped out the back door, darting across the grass toward the cars. The air felt electric, filled with urgency as they piled into Sarah's battered sedan, fear buzzing in her veins. "Where to?" Derek asked, glancing nervously back toward the community center. "To my place," Sarah replied, gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. "We can plan there and figure out a strategy." As they sped away, the night wrapped around them like a cloak of uncertainty. But as they reached Sarah's house, a sense of purpose flickered within. They trudged through her front door, huddling together in the living room, the weight of the shared burden palpable. "Let's compile everything we found," Sarah said, diving into the task ahead. They spread out papers on the candlelit table, poring over documents, cross-referencing notes and beyond.
The room buzzed with a shared electricity, hope intertwined with anxiety. Hours passed, and slowly but surely, pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, revealing connections they hadn't realized were there. Names, dates, all etched into the fabric of Maplewood. "Now we have what we need," Sarah said, finally, her voice strengthened with conviction. "But we need to share it somewhere it'll matter. We can't trust local media. They're likely tied to this." "Then we take it online, blow the lid off this whole situation," Derek said, determination blazing in his eyes. "Right," Sarah agreed, her mind racing. "We need to stay united, and we need to be careful." But then a knock rattled the door, shaking her resolve. Panic swept through her. "Hide everything! Go!" she cried, shoving papers under cushions and out of sight. Derek's eyes widened. "What if it's them?" "Only one way to find out," she whispered back, fears simmering just beneath her skin. With trembling hands, she opened the door, bracing herself for confrontation, but instead met the soft, familiar face of her neighbor, Mrs. Hawkins. Relief washed over her, but the older woman's concerned eyes gave Sarah pause. "Is everything all right, dear?" Mrs. Hawkins asked gently, catching the tension in the air like thick fog. "All good. Just working on a project," Sarah replied, a smile forcing its way onto her lips. "What about you?" "I came to check if you had heard the commotion at the center. So many worried about Tom and what's unfolding," she said, shifting her weight. "I'm just afraid for our community. We need to stand strong." The warmth in Mrs. Hawkins' voice sent shivers of unity through Sarah again. "We're working on something, and we need to help Tom. You can trust me and my friends. We're doing this for all of us." Mrs. Hawkins' expression shifted, eyes glistening with understanding. "I always thought so. You're fierce, Sarah. Just promise me you'll be careful." "I promise," Sarah said firmly, a quiet determination rooting her feet to the ground. As the door closed, she pivoted back to her friends. "We're not in this alone. The community is waking up. But we need a plan before we begin spreading the news." That was the moment the transformation began. The realization that they were not outnumbered. Rather, they were part of something bigger. And that's what fueled their resolve. As they gathered the evidence, a surge of hope filled the room. Friendships renewed, bonds strengthened. They would rise together. The following day, they went public. A series of posts hit social media, their truths unraveling the web that had ensnared Maplewood. It would be a fight, but they were ready to stand up for the heroes who painted their town with bravery. As Sarah pressed post, tears blurred her vision, but they were tears of joy and determination. They would uplift Tom and claim their community story. It was a new beginning, one where light shone through darkness, one of transformation, resilience, and unity. Together, they would change their world forever. Now, let's keep this momentum. You need to subscribe now to keep following the journey of our community heroes. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button right now to feed the algorithm with positivity. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this powerful transformation. And don't wait, not even one more second. Share this story with at least 5 friends who need motivation to stand up for what's right. Let's spread the message far and wide.